So this is the video on cycles, or we sometimes say seasons. So it's extremely useful to have a map of change. So life is all about change. You know, this happens on different rhythms, different cycles. So we can think about like the cycle of the day. For example, I was at a yoga class. It was quite late last night. And the mistake the teacher made was making it too upbeat. And it needed to be more like going down in the kind of energy, we might say, because of the time of day it was. She wasn't taking account of that. Also the time of year. So it's recording this in springtime. There's a particular movement to that, we could say. Everything we do has this... has a cycle, has seasons. You know, a time to live, a time to die. It's in the Bible. Shakespeare, there's quotes about this too. So any conversation, you know, you meet someone, say hello, there's a bit of a warm-up, then there's, you know, some meat in the sandwich, some dialogue, and then parting. Every word, every language in the world has a word for hello and goodbye. There's a reason for that, right? There's a reason for that. So why might it be useful to really study this? In that if we see cycles, we can work with them more skillfully. And most people, this is interesting, most people have a problem in this. They have a preference which can lead to a bias. So it might be a business leader who's very good at starting projects but not very good at ending them, for example, or the other way around, slow to start but good at completing. Or it might be a coach who's very good at meeting clients but not really getting them, you know, the homework or something accountable with them. It might be in a romantic situation, you know, some people are dating and they're good at meeting girls but not so good at actually really getting to know them, you know. It might be it's a different skill set. So by knowing our biases, we can be a little bit careful in terms of how we might be rushing, yeah? Rushing or clinging, so there's two basic patterns. Okay, so let's look at a model. So spring, summer, autumn, winter. Classic model. I appreciate not everywhere in the world has these seasons. I learned that when I taught this in Hong Kong. However, most people understand these seasons as a model. So we have beginning, yeah, spring, and then we have the actual action, summer, and then we have completing, autumn, and then resting, winter. So the not doing is part of the cycle too. In relationship, this would be meeting, relating, yeah, so meeting, relating, parting, and then aloneness. Yeah, very simple, turning on, turning off, off. Yeah, so we can look at these cycles in terms of I, we, and it. So in terms of, say, a project, an it cycle, it might be preparing, doing, completing, and then not doing. Yeah, in terms of just the personal side, it might be like activating, engaging, activity, completing, putting together, and then the resting. So these are different ways of looking at this cycle. You can put it in different language. You know, every movement has this. So we study it through the body in many of my courses. A handshake, you know, some people go to shake hands very quickly. Other people are very slow. Yeah? When you hug someone, some people kind of jump on you. Some people spend a lot of time in the beginning. Then some people really get into that summer period. That's like where the activity is, yeah? And then the leaving, you'll notice this with a hug or a kiss or anything like this, one of you leaves first, right? So are you always the one who leaves first? Bye. In Russia, they call that leaving like an Englishman, like out of here, laters. And other people are like, I'm going now, you know, this kind of clinging energy. You'll see this when I teach workshops, and at the end of a workshop, some people, you know, an hour before the end, they're like, you know, what am I having for dinner? They're texting, they're half out the door. And other people at the end, they're like, one more thing, one more thing, one more thing. And you see how they orientate around completing, yeah? Certainly when I work in business with business leaders, different parts of the cycle are devalued. So let's take rest, for example, yeah? And you'll see this in life cycles as well. We may be all about the spring culture, youthful culture, or summer, the activity of the life. Not so much about the second half of life. And in business, this is often like not completing things properly, not evaluating them properly. This is where you get a lot of the learning, right, in the evaluation, the reflection afterwards. So in learning, it's preparing to learn, learning, then reflecting as the learning cycle. And then afterwards, there's the rest. And many of the businesses I'm working with, they're just not resting. Yeah. In a relationship context, that would look like going from one girlfriend to another girlfriend to another girlfriend, and not having that really healthy alone time between partners where you reflect and you go, okay, just on my own for a bit, you know, learn to be with yourself, to not be codependent, And certainly, as I said, in business, that not resting is critical. So whether you are watching this as a life coach I'm working with, super useful to know where you are in the cycle, in these cycles. Whether you're a business leader watching this, super useful to know. I'm making sure I complete this video now because I tend to not do the completion part very well. So it's good to sum up, the end of a video to say this is what we've learned as any part of learning. And also in terms of how you change it, right? Well, any activity. So we do different embodied activities, movements, dances, martial arts moves, and you can study it through that and actually change it in your body. And for me, practices might be very simple things, like shutting doors or putting the toothpaste lid back on, these simple practices of completion in my house. Okay, so that's a little video on cycles. I hope this was useful.